All right, it's been a while since I've uploaded, and so I'm here today to talk about why cybersecurity is such a terrible career. And I mean it. Cybersecurity is probably one of the worst careers you could probably consider. But before you start throwing stones at me and leaving comments that I am the worst person you've ever heard of or ever met, listen to me for just a moment. So first and foremost, usually when someone thinks about building a career or getting a career, you think, okay, so I need to go get some certifications or go get a degree in something. Maybe some years of experience will make me qualified, whatever you want to call it. But cybersecurity doesn't really work that way. After many years of working in this space, I just have come to found that half the people I work with never even graduated high school. Half of them have done shady things that they probably shouldn't have done, and they're like, and you wonder why I know how to handle malware analysis. And then, you find people who worked for the Air Force and NASA and sure, all these different people. And, I've worked in forensics, I've done analytics, I've done data science in the cybersecurity space, I've done IT stuff, cloud technology, like you name it, like it's specialized in what's called compliance and go down the list of cybersecurity stuff. And it's not a good career because in cybersecurity, it's just this big nebulous bubble. So for one, probably the number one reason why it's not a good career is because cybersecurity is more of, I'm going to go so far as to say like a lifestyle for people who are the types to progress rapidly. So the people who I've seen start at the bottom and maybe they're working at like a cybersecurity help desk or a SOC and making like lower salaries and so on. The ones who just came out of college and it's not really an interest, they're just like, this is a career for me, this is what I just collect my check and I go home. Well, they don't really get anywhere. Maybe they just try to go get a few certifications, maybe they get a few promotions here and there, and then they kind of cap out, and then they have this 9-to-5 job that they go to, and then they complain about it every day because it's a lot of work, it's really hard, it's really grindy, and it's just not for those people, which makes it a terrible career choice. But then the people who progress rapidly and they end up working in the labs and working under CISO's offices and becoming CISOs and doing all these different things, or just being malware analysts and like cybersecurity consultants making 6 figures and doing all these different things. Half of them started off as people who are tinkers, people who like to play around in their spare time. They go home and they're too busy building a gaming computer while someone else is getting a degree. And then they're too busy trying to understand how they can crack their neighbor's Wi-Fi or steal someone's Facebook account so they can try to read the emails from their friend to see if they were sending some messages about them. Like, I don't know. Like, these are the people who end up working in the cybersecurity space and ranking up to be at the top tier level in cybersecurity. I'm not discrediting people who go to college, because there are plenty of people who go to college and are those people too. And there are plenty of people who just never even graduated high school and they spent their time like cracking people's MySpace accounts. Like, great. Putting up pictures that they like, funny memes on people's Facebook profile pictures, and then they're the people who are running your cybersecurity at your company to keep you safe, right? I mean, I don't know what to tell you. The second reason why cybersecurity is a pretty bad career is you're not usually fighting hackers. In the movies we see cybersecurity people in there, like we're watching Mission Impossible and people are doing all this stuff and typing and trying to catch the bad guys doing all these things in Skyfall or whatever. And we think of these as cybersecurity professionals, or we think of these hackers that we're attacking or fighting or defending against. Really, you spend probably 90% of the biggest threats that you're going to be fighting are clueless users. Clueless users who you told not to do something, you were like, don't click on that email, don't do it, and then they clicked on that email or this link, and you spend the vast majority of your time fighting users and doing like recovery from something a user did that was avoidable. You're not fighting hackers, you're fighting stupid choices by people. And I'm sorry for those of you who are those stupid people. I just called you stupid on the internet. I'm so sorry, but I do mean it. And that's the reason why we have cybersecurity staff and why we have these big breaches most of the time. Why we have these situations where they're like, Sony just got hacked. Well, sometimes it got attacked by hackers, but most of the time someone clicked on something they shouldn't have, and then they end up in the news, and we all wonder why. And it's like, why do you think a bigger company is going to get hacked? They have more people to do more clueless things, so that they're more likely to have all kinds of stuff running around in their network. And so there you go. That's the second reason why cybersecurity is it's not a very good career. The third reason why I honestly think that cybersecurity is just a really bad career choice for people who are trying to make it a career, not so much of like a lifestyle, like you think this is fun, you want to go do this stuff. Like, it doesn't have any standardization. And everything moves so quickly, it's constantly changing, that you can go, like software engineering, you can learn how software is built. You can learn the standards for building software. Cybersecurity, like there's some basics you can learn, and you should learn how to script, and you should learn some fundamentals and whatnot. But outside of the fundamentals, like if you stop one type of attack, or you prevent users from clicking on one type of email, then the people who are trying to attack your company or fool your users are just going to come up with something else, and whatever you knew yesterday is obsolete, and that's the truth. So because you can't really standardize the industry the way that you can other industries like IT, learn how to structure a network, you structure the network, and then you just have to enforce the structure of the network. Software engineering, you decide how you want to develop the software, you develop the software that way, tell everyone what the standard is. The cybersecurity, you stop one attack, some random something happens, and you stop another attack, some other random something happens. You tell users over there to not click on that email, they click on it anyways. You tell someone else not to do something, they do it anyways. You tell them not to click on random ads while they're working on their work computer, they do it anyways. So there's not really a way to just standardize everything the same way in cybersecurity. It's kind of just, well, let's see what works today. Well, I guess we'll try something else tomorrow. And some people might disagree with what I'm saying if I don't go further into detail. I'm not going to go further into detail on that right now. But I mean, like, for example, like a few years back, I was working, and I can't talk about what company this is because I have non-disclosure agreements from past employers and projects that I worked on. But I was implementing a security suite at a retail organization. And while implementing the suite, I was like, you guys have an SSH open in your network. It's like there's someone actively in your environment. Someone's in you've been hacked. Bottom line. I don't really have anything else to say. You should probably do something about that. And lo and behold, a year later, they're in the news, and it's like, oh, this company got hacked, and then they're like, we don't know why no one discovered this sooner, because you find the attack, you figure out that there's a breach, and no one cares until they're in the news. And now all of a sudden they're sitting there trying to defend themselves. Another reason why I don't want to get sued, so I'm not going to talk about who it is because I don't want them coming after me with their lawyers. But it was avoidable. And they say, how come no one noticed this sooner? And this is not a one-off situation. This stuff happens all the time. All the time. All the time. And it gets old after a while. Not to say that I don't find cybersecurity to be valuable in the world. Valuable or not, if you're the one doing it, you might go a little crazy. The other one is, like, in technology in general, this isn't just cybersecurity, but depending on the company you work for, you'll go work for a company and you're like, okay, I'm going to automate half of my job because it's really time consuming and I can't do other things. And then your manager will be like, well, but if you automate yourself out of a job, then how are we going to, like, have a reason for your salary? So you shouldn't automate yourself out of a job, because then what are we going to tell the shareholders? And we're like, well, their job's been automated, so there's no real need to hire any more help anymore. Well, it doesn't work that way, because for everything automate, that's like one less maddening thing that you have to do, but your managers are like, nope, don't automate it, don't do it, because you're gonna not have a job anymore, and then we won't be able to hire other people and have reason for having a budget to keep hiring. This is just a one-off scenario. Like, automation isn't the only type of thing that managers, like, you're like, I need something. Managers like, no you don't. You're like, I need something. Managers say, no you don't. This happens at many companies. And so then if, let's say that you do have a manager that's like, yes, automate everything. Well, in cybersecurity, once again, since there's no standardization, no matter what you automate, there's probably like 50,000 more things to automate anyways. So maybe you're better off just not automating anything and just collecting a check and going home at the end of the day, and then just yelling at users all day and be like, I told you not to click on that email. Let's just be the mop-up crew. Oh, more viruses, more malware. Okay, we'll do the same analysis we did last time and give you the same answer we gave you last time on what not to do. Again, we're going to get hacked again next week because someone's going to click on another email. Gotcha. So even if you start automating things, you're still going to end up automating forever and ever and have unlimited things to automate, because there's probably 200 hours worth of things to do in the cybersecurity world, even if you start automating everything, which is kind of how it works. So, you know, if you have managers who want you to work 100 hours a week, don't work 100 hours a week, because even if you worked 400 hours a week, you're not going to finish everything. Like cybersecurity as a field is so underserved. There's not enough people in the positions who have the skill sets to take care of things. Companies don't want to create the budgets to pay the people unless you're one of the few people who's making the big bucks. Otherwise, they want to try to figure out how they can avoid paying you. And if they can avoid having a cybersecurity program, most companies are like, wait a minute, we don't have to pay people, and if we get breached, we don't have to even know that we got breached, and if we just brush it under a rug somehow. And then 7 years later, they find out that they were like TJ Maxx and someone hacked them 7 years ago, and now they're a huge situation in the news, and then half of the companies go out of business, and then they wonder why. Because employers don't really care about their cybersecurity staff. Hey, let's just be honest. Most companies. There are some who do. And so, I guess I just gave probably like a number of reasons right there. So I don't even know what number would be on, like 6. But yeah, so if something goes wrong, then it's your fault. So if you're the cybersecurity team and someone clicks on that email, once again, you're fighting users, you're not fighting hackers. If someone clicks on the email, it's your fault. It's not their fault, it's your fault. It's like, oh, someone clicked on this email, got us a virus called CryptoWall, or some other horrible virus, some ransomware, and now we have to like eat $300,000 or even $3 million to remedy this situation. Some companies can handle that burden and some can't, to recover all the data that's been encrypted or lost. I don't know, like this happens all the time, and then it's all your fault. You're the one who has to deal with it, and then someone gets fired, maybe someone doesn't get fired, but it's definitely your fault. It's definitely your fault if you work for the cybersecurity team. And so then even if you progress all the way up, and let's say that you want to become a CISO, and you're like, you know what, I want to be an executive, I want to be a cybersecurity executive, and I'm going to make $300,000 a year working for the new big hot startup, and they're hiring a CISO right now. CISOs are also the most frequently fired executives at any company. Why? Because if there's anything that happens, or a breach or something, well, they're like, well, we don't know what to do, so we're going to blame the CISO. It was his fault, and to prove that we're trying to solve the problem, we're going to just fire the CISO. This is a brilliant idea. Even if he's really good, we don't know if he's really good or not, because cybersecurity is like voodoo magic anyways to most people. So, like, salute, there goes your job. And we're real sorry, Mr. CISO, but it's all going to be your fault. You're going to put you all over the news, and we're going to just trash your entire career, because it's clearly not the users. It's clearly not are lack of security awareness programs running in the company. It's clearly your fault, and it's not the lack of budget we gave you, it's not the lack of staffing we gave you, it's all you. So anyways, now you know, if you're thinking about getting into cybersecurity, think about these things. Now, do I think it's a terrible career for everyone? No. Like, I always find myself going back to cybersecurity things. I went off and started a company and I was going to talk about like IT and other things and technology. The next thing I know, I'm back on cybersecurity, and I do penetration testing like on my own for fun, and I do bounties and tap into vulnerabilities, and I don't know. So if you're a person who, like, it's a lifestyle for you, if you like cybersecurity as a lifestyle and that's just something that you do, maybe you're more like me. You might be, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But if you already are a hobbyist, you build your own computers, maybe you don't build your own computers, but you're a person who likes to constantly play with things and learn on your own, even if you have a degree, even if you don't have a degree, you're always learning and you're always trying to figure out how to take on new things and take on new challenges. It can be a fun and fulfilling career path, but once again, I think I would veer toward, you probably want to think of it as more of a lifestyle. Does it suit your lifestyle? And I think that's a big thing to think about. And I've been getting a lot of people asking me lately, is cybersecurity a good career? Is cybersecurity a good career? And then their way of getting into it, they're like, well, I don't really care about this stuff. I just want to make six figures. I want to get a big salary. I want to do all this cool stuff and travel and do international stuff like you did. And I get that it's cool to do the international work and it's cool to create new tools and stuff like that. But the reality is, if it's not a lifestyle for you, it's going to be boring, it's going to be dry, it's not going to be fulfilling. All you're going to want to do is go home at the end of the day. And it's just, if it's not something you already do in your spare time, it's just a drain. And I'd say accounting might even be a better career option. It's more sustainable, it's easier to figure out for the most part. You can just go and you get a CPA. Hey, much more straightforward. Your certifications actually have long-standing value, so it's not like getting a certification in the tech space. It's like, well, you got certified 5 years ago, but we no longer care. Well, when you get a CPA, there you go, you're a CPA until you die, and money is money. Like, there are other more sustainable, straightforward, structured careers for people who just want to find something stable, structured, and easy to get into. So I think that's a very important thing to think about. I mean, don't necessarily write off cybersecurity if you are a person who's tinkering around and likes to mess with stuff, and maybe, I don't know, you go to Starbucks and figure out if you can figure out how to access their VPN information and tap into other users' information. Shame on you if you do that, but I mean, maybe consider the career if you're that type of person. But I just want to say, think about it. Think about it. And every time I point at you, it's four fingers pointing right back at this. It's the real thing.